So this is timed at 14:30 GMT on Sunday, the 5th of February 2023. But we are starting at 14:24 GMT, 6 minutes before that stated time. This is the Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions. Baby Angel Geronimo is the world's unique, most authentic, compassionate, caring baby angel Geronimo. Baby angel Geronimo was born in New Zealand and he came to the UK, I suppose, at the invitation of a woman called Helen MacDonald in South Gloucestershire in southwest England. Baby angel Geronimo is the witness not only to the various evilness directed at him by the crooks, the depraved evil ones controlling the UK DEFRA, Department of the United Kingdom government, but also baby angel Geronimo witnessed the spectacle of this spectacular lying by the professionals who profess to be experts in matters to do with the health of creatures like the baby angel Geronimo. And they said that they were supporting Helen MacDonald and baby angel Geronimo in the court cases and the campaign intended to overturn the lies confected by the criminals, fronted by evil one George Eustace, who was in post for several years at the DEFRA as the Secretary of State, allegedly for the benefit of the environment. The George Eustace was an instrument of the evil woman called Christian Middlemiss Evilness, who has held the post of chief vet. She's an evilness personified, the evilness contained in the extensive, outstanding series of questions that have arisen based on her lying and her lying briefs. She has been instrumental in providing the so-called expert kind of brief to the stooges that acted for the DEFRA agenda intended to attack baby angel Geronimo in the courts and in publicly issued statements. None of the Fleet Street titles that has actually carried any reference to baby angel Geronimo has told the truth, not a single one. So we started the baby angel Geronimo editions as the ongoing, continuous, fact-based, world-exclusive platform to tell the truth about baby angel Geronimo and to reflect baby angel Geronimo's evidence. And we have been doing this since starting in 2021. Baby angel Geronimo is the world's bestest baby angel Geronimo, the world's healthiest baby angel Geronimo, the world's most adorable baby angel Geronimo, and his human mom, the woman that brought him up in New Zealand before she sadly said goodbye to him as he was leaving for England, Leonie Walker. For the rest of her life, she will never recover from the fact that she let him go. She loves baby angel Geronimo, and she thinks he had shown to her various aspects of his personality, one of which was he was very cheeky. People who are familiar with and are close to animals know that animals have got absolutely fantastic intelligence, sense of humor, sense of fun. And baby angel Geronimo showed in New Zealand he had plenty of all of those. So we are running the baby angel Geronimo editions not only to update on the baby angel Geronimo's evidence, but also to update on the corruption, the cruelty, the lack of compassion, the lack of care, the criminality that dominate the mentality and the behavior and the decision making considerations of those who are in posts, either locally or centrally. For example, in the account published in the Sun on Sunday today, 5th of February 2023, on pages 28 and 29, there is this main heading: Murdered Zara's aunt hits out at probation shambles. Now, that word shambles is completely inappropriate. What Zara's aunt actually thinks is not at all reflected in the word shambles, because she actually says that the probation people who let Zara's murderer loose on the street have blood on their hands. Zara Alina. And the probation people labeled the murderer a medium risk, and they did not review that assessment. And one farm, and we shall come to the details in a minute, missed 15,000 offender appointments. Now let's go to the beginning of this item, which is described as exclusive by Ben Griffiths. Okay, so the private probation farm that labeled trainee lawyer Zara Alina's violent murderer, well, I'm calling murderer, they are calling it killer. Zara Alina's violent murderer, medium risk, failed to take action on 15,000 missed offender appointments in just 16 months. Think about that. Read that again. This is a private probation farm. Now, we shall be revisiting many of the private entrepreneurs that are actually causing massacres. Because if, for example, this is kind of repeated, this behavior by Zara Alina's murderer is repeated by the offender appointments this particular firm missed. And if any number of these killers, offenders, potential murderers were let loose, like McSweeney, who murdered Zara Alina, then it doesn't take much to think how many people would have been caused severe damage, harm, or even murdered by those offenders. Now, taking a pause from that article, let's look at the overall situation. The overall situation is that there was an item in the, was it the Sun or one of the news outlets yesterday, that is Saturday, yes, 2000 Saturday, the 4th of February 2023. There was a question mark about the murderer's negligence and criminality being committed and perpetrated by the fire brigades. And it said the same, it asked the question, if the fire brigade wasn't similar to the Metropolitan Police and its Metropolitan Police's deadly, murderous negligence and failures. Now, our campaign, which is Khoodeelaar campaign, we describe ourselves as the world exclusive platform, fact-based, world exclusive, investigative platform, fact-based simply. And we assert on the facts that right across the United Kingdom, ordinary people are being kind of caused severe harm and damage by the so-called caring industry. I would use the word industry because they are not services. They're designated services, they're called services, but essentially they're industries. And if today's Sunday Times, that is today, that is the 5th of February, if the headline in the Sunday Times today is treated as typical of the policies being pushed through in the name of the United Kingdom by the incumbent in number 10 Downing Street, a moron called Rishi Sunak. Let's see what the moron is doing. Now, this is the headline in the Sunday Times today, and I shall put this in front of the camera if I can hold the device, because there is no real kind of desk or anything to put the computer on. So this is the kind of glimpse of the front page of the Sunday Times, a print version. This is the one. Where is it coming? Is it coming near? Well, there is the Sunday Times, and the headline that I'm looking for, where is it? Is it showing? Will it show? It's a difficult one because of the lack of any holder for the computer. So let's say we shall inform those people who watch this program, not just this edition, but those who check on the Khoodeelaar television channel, that We broadcast about, on average, say, just under 50 minutes on the day, every day. But that is only 50 minutes on every 24 hours, let's say, on average. At the current arrangements, technical arrangements. But we post on our Twitter account several hundred tweets every week. And we go into some real details about some of the issues that we review and discuss and analyze. So this one, the heading is Sunak's threat to pull UK out of the ECHR. Now, the ECHR is European Convention of Human Rights or for Human Rights. But this same kind of 4 letters abbreviation is also used for the court, European Court for Human Rights or of Human Rights. We shall discuss that and add to what I said in the previous edition. 65,000 predicted to cross Channel this year. We're talking about the migrants. And the pledge to leave convention if new laws blocked. Now, there is so many things, or there are so many things wrong with the Sunday Times running that piece in that way that it will take a very long time to diagnose item by item all the faults. But essentially, the constitutional law error inherent in that heading and in that kind of stunt by this complete absolute moron, Rishi Sunak. Now, let's say the linguistically, his last name is Sunak, Sunak. So if you remove the A before the K, what does it read? It reads sunk. And I think it's an easy deduction. And what will happen, with or without Liz Truss and Boris Johnson kind of hovering around to make a comeback, whether it materializes or not, doesn't matter. Sunak is sunk. I say is sunk. It's not like saying Sunak is going to be sunk. Because anyone, this idiot, this stupid boy, this fucking cunt, where did he go to? Where is the formal? He said, this Sunak is a fucking cunt. Stupid fucking cunt. Let's look at the Wikipedia entry on the fucking cunt and see what they kind of peddle as his So this cunt went to Lincoln College in Oxford and then in the USA, Stanford, where he did the MBA. And what are they saying are his, and he's a banker, essentially a hedge fund operative crook. Now, there is nothing elaborate about his kind of entry. And it's not surprising because judging by his kind of surfacing on the media, and he surfaced on the media mainly in the run up to the referendum, the stupidly called referendum on the UK's status in the European Union. Judging by the contents of what he said, and judging by the contents of what I saw him saying, it's not a very bright boy, is he? One persistent kind of narrative that runs throughout his contributions is that he's very limited in vocabulary and he's limited in knowledge, and he knows that he has to be crafty, which he is. I mean, it is obvious from the three kind of contents, the contents of his speech at number 10 Downing Street outside the main door gives the game away. He didn't go into any detail. That probably is the shortest speech by a so called new incumbent. I absolutely do not like to call him Prime Minister because that actually brings in all kinds of expectations that this lying cunt will never fulfill. But he's crafty. So, what did he say? Let's check on what he said. So this says YouTube, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's speech on the steps of Downing Street. And this is the Independent. We're not going to the YouTube version. It's a independent, although the byline is that of the cunt called John Rat. This Rat is a complete fucking sucker up to Tony Blair. And this cunt lied in Tower Hamlets when he was in Tower Hamlets in the Labour Party, and he lied. Serial liar, this fucking racist cunt. What Rishi Sunak said, this is the whether this cunt is writing it. It's only right to explain why I am standing here as your new Prime Minister. And then the rat, John Rat All, says what he really meant. Everybody thinks it was a fix by the 1922 committee, which rigged the rules behind closed doors. But I'm not actually going to explain anything. And then he said, I want to pay tribute to my predecessor Liz Truss. She was not wrong to want to improve growth in this country. It's a noble aim. What he meant, she must have been out of her mind. I told you, you fools, and you wouldn't listen. What he said, and I admired her restlessness to create change. What he meant, she was a human hand grenade. What he said, but some mistakes were made. What he meant, I simply could not believe that she and Quasi Quatrang could make such a complete mess of a simple logical task. What he said, not born of ill will or bad intentions. What he meant, they were born of sheer incompetence, etc., etc. So, what John Rat or is saying about Rishi Sangh is that he's a very intelligent and he's a crafty crook. Now, going back to the threat to pull UK out of the ECHR, this is something that is very important historically. Anyone who has studied, anyone who was around at the time when Jim Callaghan, the most racist leader of the Labour Party, gave the keys to the number 10 Downing Street to Margaret Thatcher. Now, that was nearly 40 years ago. And even Thatcher never said she would pull UK out of the ECHR. Think about that. And the ECHR is not there. The ECHR was not drawn up. And the UK didn't sign up to it in order to violate human rights, in order to violate due process, in order to violate the rule of law. The ECHR was set up, well, it started from the Treaty of Rome in 1950. It was set up to actually oppose war, threats, hunger, and so on. Because the Treaty of Rome in 1950 was drawn up within 5 years of the formal end of the Second so-called World War. And the Treaty of Rome is one of those initiatives that directly followed from the adoption of the founding declarations for the United Nations Organization. So the Treaty of Rome, for 73 years, let's say, has been not only good, but very good in context as a deterrent. As a deterrent to the warmongering stupidity and selfishness that a cunt like Rishi Sangh only understands. In none of the contributions that I observed this cunt making on live television programs, for example, mostly the ones that were broadcast on the BBC television in the run-up to the referendum in June 2016, Rishi Sunak didn't come across as a learned person, as an educated person at all. So, what the Sunday Times should have done, instead of running this threat to pull UK out of the ECHR, they should have said that Sunak is lost. So he's looking for desperate kind of stunts, which is what this is. He's not going to fucking pull the UK out of the ECHR. And then the fucking stupid fucking Tim Shipman, chief political fucking correspondent, uses the stupid word nuclear. He says senior figures say the prime minister is prepared to deploy the nuclear option before the general election. Fuck off. If the European court strikes down his plans, so you've got really ignorant people like Tim Shipman. I mean, he's imposed as chief political commentator. Fuck him. He doesn't know what politics is. I mean, this issue of the ECHR, for those who don't understand the constitutional details, is not the same as the issue. Because the ECHR was adopted long before the United Kingdom became anything to do with the European Union. As I said, I mean, it is connected with the Treaty of Rome. Let's take a look. This is the Treaty of Rome, and it's connected with the European Parliament. Two treaties were signed on 25th of March 1957. The treaty establishing the European Economic Community and the treaty establishing the European Atomic Energy. So what did the Treaty of the internet resources? The Treaty of Rome set up the European Economic Community, bringing together Belgium, Germany, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands to work together towards integration and economic growth through trade. It established a common market based on the free movement of goods, etc., etc. We shall come to the ECHR in a minute. So the Treaty of Rome has been amended on a number of occasions, and today, that is 14th of March 2017, the date of this particular entry, is called the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. So let's go to the ECHR. It said the European Convention. Let's get a clarification. Let's leave the Treaty of Rome on one side. This one is called the European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, formally known as the Convention for the Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms. And there are, so this is the one is signed in 1950, and that is signed on the 4th of November in Rome, in Italy, and it's been effective since the 3rd of September 1953. And the parties to this particular convention are stated as 46 Council of Europe member states. So let's go back to the beginning of this paragraph. The convention established the European Court of Human Rights, generally referred to by the same initials as ECHR. Any person, notice this, any person who feels their rights have been violated under the convention by a state, any of the state, can take a case to the court, European Court of Human Rights. Judgments finding violations are binding on the states, and they're obliged to execute those judgments. The Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe monitors the execution of the judgments. Well, particularly to ensure payments awarded by the court, that is the European Court of Human Rights, by the court appropriately compensating applicants for the damage they have sustained. The convention has several protocols which amend the convention framework. The convention has had a significant influence on the law in Council of Europe member countries and is widely considered the most effective international treaty for human rights protection, which is why I say because, as I said, to get rid of the CHR will be 1,000 times, and I say the word 1,000 times more difficult than getting Brexit done by the fuckers. Because the ECHR, in my understanding of the international law, is probably the most important piece of legislation that followed the founding declarations for the United Nations. There are about 80% of the ECHR has got defects in it. But the 20% that is not defective, in my view, is better by far than all the international agreements put together. All the international agreements and treaties that, in my understanding, have been signed and authored and scripted in the last 70 years. So the criminal cunts at the fucking Sunday Times show abject ignorance. Most important international instrument. Fuck the Sunday Times. Fuck Rishi Sunak. Now we go back to the issue that Zara Alina's aunt is raising. Zara Alina, of course, was a young person who was returning home on foot. And our home is in the street where I lived for a year. And it's called the Cranbrook Road. And Cranbrook Road is in Ilford. And it's not a deprived part of London. So where is the, yeah, it's a piece going, this is the piece. Okay, so the piece is a murdered Zara's aunt hits out at probation shambles. And the main banner words are blood on their hands. Now, what this is about is a report about a private probation firm which said that the murderer, McSweeney, was medium risk, so he could be let out of prison. And Zara's aunt is condemning them and saying that they caused her murder. Zara's aunt Farah Naz said, probation services had blood on their hands, adding, some people need to be accountable here. If I don't do my job, I don't deserve my job. Heads should roll. She told the Sun on Sunday there was a litany of errors. Why did information on McSweeney not get shared? Prisons and probation are supposed to be linked. So, what's going on here? What's going on there? Is it because of the management of three different services? Is it because they are all operating in silence? Is it because of privatization? With offenders and re-offenders, it feels like an oversimplification to have just low, medium, and high categories. If you only have three categories, it seems to me that medium risk offenders need more attention than they are currently getting. Repeat offender McSweeney 29 had only been free from prison for 9 days when he stalked budding lawyer Zara 35 after she had a night out in Ilford, East London, before sexually assaulting and killing her on June 26th last year. And it goes on now. Let's talk about the accountability thing. The role of the probation service and the role of the prisons and the role of the courts and the role of the local councils, which have the majority of the responsibilities for behavior that takes place as it is wrongly and misleadingly jumbled up and called in the community. No evidence exists in the UK, especially in London, that the local councils, such as the London Borough of Tower Hamlets Council, let's say, or similar council like Newham, like Hackney, like Haringey, like Lambeth, Southwark, or Croydon, that they've got any line of management, any line of accountability. Now, let's connect the role that one of the investigative journalists played in forcing a coroner, a female coroner, to actually accept the case of a woman that had died out of neglect by the council. The fact that it took a reporter, an investigative reporter, not anyone in the Fleet Street titles, but outside, the fact that it took an investigative reporter a string of communications and a series of fact based demands before the coroner would agree to look at the circumstances of the individual's death shows that the coroners are not working. Let's say that again. I have said there is no justice system in this country, in the United Kingdom. And in illustrating that statement, I have said most often that the courts are collections of corrupt, careerist, criminal bureaucracies. And I have said that the judges are as corrupt as officially licensed law traders, but are in posts in courts as bureaucrats in the court system. They're not accountable. And the courts are not, the English courts are not available for securing or seeking the option to secure accountability by the likes of that particular private probation firm that Zara's aunt Farhanaz is talking about. So the courts are not doing it, the coroners are not doing it, the police are not doing it, the local councils, social services are not doing it. Who the fuck is caring for the people who most need care, protection, and support? And who is preventing the criminals, murderers, offenders like McSweeney, who murdered Zara Alina? So these are the kind of on the ground items of evidence of what the ECHR was passed to prevent. Because the ECHR is there to make it possible for the people who have been let down. Well, in the case of Zara Alina, it would be her family. It would be including her aunt, who have been let down and betrayed and violated by the state concerned, any state, well, within the framework of the European kind of region, let's say. So, when Sunak does this, he repeats what Johnson has done before, making threats. And when Braverman does this, she repeats what Priti Patel has done before. And it is clear on the facts, on the accessible facts on channels, that no matter how brazen the disrespect and denial of the European Convention of this treaty, there is no evidence of the even the fact that there is an official political opposition in this country, in the United Kingdom. So this is a contextual reference updating on our running commentary on Imran Khan's mistaken references to the UK as having rule of law. If Imran Khan really has access to the media and he can get hold of the information, let's say available through the mail, through the Sun on Sunday, and he can read the comments by Zara Alina's aunt, and he can see that there is no rule of law. There is no accountability. And as I have been saying repeatedly, Imran Khan, although he spent about 20 years or so, according to his claim, in the United Kingdom, he really didn't understand or he didn't study how the United Kingdom state operates. I don't want to use the word works because it doesn't work. It operates. Operates is the concept that I'm using in the Twitter references to the role of the media that are running the operation about Shamima Begum. Because this piece in the London Times magazine of Saturday, 4th of February 2023, is headed Unveiled, the Confessions of Shamima Begum. And there is a quote, I was in love with the idea of Islamic State. I was in denial. Now I have a lot of regret. Well, there is a singular word, regret. A lot should be followed by regrets with an S. And it's a piece byline to Josh Baker. Now, what Zara Alina's aunt is saying is that people should be accountable. And yet, what the media, Fleet Street media, is doing about this project that they are operating around Shamima Begum is that they are doing the job for the UK state. And they're doing the job at stages. The UK state, whoever made the decisions at any stage to get rid of Shamima Begum's British by birth citizenship, it was a completely criminal, as defined criminality, criminal negligence. She should never have been deprived of her British by birth citizenship. The result of that has been that Shamima Begum has had the right to challenge that. But that right has been itself interfered with by the so called Supreme Court. Now, the way the Supreme Court behaved in rejecting the Court of Appeals endorsing Shamima Begum's application to the effect that she should be allowed to return to the United Kingdom to competently mount a legal challenge against the Home Secretary revoking her British by birth citizenship. The way that the Supreme Court showed two fingers to the Court of Appeal is very much reminiscent of the way that each one of the three judges sitting in the High Court passed their judgment against baby angel Geronimo and acted, these judges, as the stooges for the depraved DEFRA. What I'm saying, therefore, is that regardless of what the actual particular description of the issue is, ordinary people, and I'm citing baby angel Geronimo as a people because he and Helen MacDonald are combined as a person, as an entity, mom and child. So the baby angel Geronimo has been entitled to the rule of law, due process, evidence-based arguments, and the provision, the safety of the ECHR. All of those have been treated with contempt by the judiciary that is there to uphold those values. Remember that? So Imran Khan should understand that the role of the judiciary in the UK is as corrupt, as prejudiced, as ignorant, as biased, as unlawful, as illegal as the corrupt judiciary in Pakistan, which capitulated to the crooks that were plotting to bring down Imran Khan's government. And that government, fronted by Imran Khan, was only brought down because of the judiciary playing complicit role. So here, Sunak's threat would never appear on the paper if there existed any record of the UK high courts, that is, Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, etc., ever taking a stance independently, voluntarily, against the unlawful, illegal, corrupt, criminal behavior and policies of the UK government. So what Zara Alina's aunt is calling for is not going to be available because the tone of her words, she is frustrated and she is mourning her niece like the rest of the family. But she is also not somebody who understands fully the corrupt interior and the corrupt working of the various state agencies. It seems that Zara, Alina's aunt, still has respect for various agencies. That's why she's saying they should be held to account, or accountability has to be there. No accountability will be delivered by going through the motions, going through the court bureaucracy. We shall be talking about this, and of course, we shall be talking more about Shamima Begum, Josh Baker, and the BBC podcast, and all the other things in the editions that will follow. We shall end this one, incomplete, of course, at 15:25 hours GMT, after the broadcast has run for 1 hour and 1 minute.